Hello, 7th graders. Today we are going to learn how to write and solve inequalities. Before we get into inequalities, I want to review our integers. So take a look at these 6 problems and pause the video and see if you can do them. All right, here are our answers. -3 plus 14 is the same as 14 minus 3, which we know is 11. 11 plus 17, because minus a negative is a plus, is 28. -5, going 6 more negative. So if you think of a number line, you start at -5 and go 6 left. It's going to be -11. A negative times a negative will cancel out. 4 times 6 is 24. -12 times 5 is -60. And -45 divided by 15 is -3. All right, with inequalities comes some important vocabulary. So far, we have already learned what an expression is. That is a math sentence without an equal sign. So in chapter 6, we learned about like terms. We learned about how 3x plus 5x, which is an expression because there's no equal sign, we can combine those to get 8x. A coefficient is a number in front of the variable. So in what I wrote under expression, 3 is a coefficient, 5 is a coefficient, and 8 is a coefficient. A constant is a number without a variable. And a variable is a letter that represents an unknown number value. So in the expression we wrote, x would be our variable. We don't know what x is. Typically, we are solving for it. A solution will be a value that makes the variable true. And an inequality, hopefully you guys have learned these before. Those are these down here. We have the less than symbol, the greater than symbol, the less than or equal to, and the greater than or equal to. So the line under it means it's equal to, and if it points to the left, it's less than, and if it points to the right, it's greater than. All right, let's see some examples. In example 1, we have x plus 5 is less than -12. Now when we did equations, we learned to undo addition, we subtract. So we would subtract 5, and then we get x is less than -17. Now x can't be equal to -17 because it's not equal to. It is less than. So if we put that on a number line, we have -17 here. Remember, x can't be equal to, so I'm going to represent it with an open circle. And x is less than, which means an arrow for an inequality goes to the left. So x could be -18, -19, but it cannot be -17, and it cannot be greater than it. All right, example 2 says 13 plus x is greater than -7. Again, to undo addition, we're going to subtract. So we're going to subtract 13 from both sides. And we have x is greater than -20. So if we put that on a number line, we have -20. I represent a greater than symbol with an open circle because it does not include -20. And the arrow goes to the right. So one thing to note, if you want to write this in your notes, is that less than and greater than have an open circle, and less than or equal to and greater than or equal to are going to have a closed circle on a graph. All right, our last example on this slide is x minus 14 is less than -2. To undo subtraction, we're going to add. So we add 14. And we have x is less than -2 plus 14 is 12. So if we put this on a number line, we have 12. It's an open circle because it does not include 12, and it is less than. All right, I want you to pause the video, try 4 and 5 on your own. Also try graphing them, and then play the video back to see if you get it correct. All right, for number 4, we add 5 to both sides. We have y is greater than or equal to -2. We put a closed circle at -2, and it's greater than. For number 5, we subtract 12, and we get 9 is greater than x. Now, we didn't talk about this in the examples, but I can actually read that backwards and get x is less than 9. If 9 is greater than x, then x is less than 9. And then that less than sign helps us graph it a little easier. So we have an open circle at 9, and it goes to the left. All right, so here's what's new in 7th grade. If you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. I want you to highlight that, star it in your notes. That is super important. So let's see what this is going to look like. In example 4, we have a times negative 4 is less than negative 12. To undo multiplication, we're going to divide by negative 4. When we divide by a negative, we have to flip the sign. So now I have a is greater than positive 3. So we can graph this. We have 3, open circle, it's greater than. Now the reason we flip the sign is because the number line flips at 0. Between positive and negative numbers, the number line flips. So if we were to test this out, our solutions say a is greater than 3. So if we plugged in, say, positive 4, I would have 4 times negative 4 is less than negative 12. If we solve that, we have negative 16 is less than negative 12, which is true. If I had kept the sign the same way, and we plug in 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, which is not less than negative 12. So we have to flip the sign to make it true. All right, next example. I have negative 5b is greater than 35. To undo multiplication, we're going to divide by negative 5. And because we divided by a negative, we have to flip the sign. So now b is less than negative 7. If we put this on a number line, we got negative 7. Open circle, because it's not equal to. Less than goes to the left. Now again, we could test this out to see if we're right. I know negative 8 is not less than negative 7, so it should work. Let's try negative 5 times negative 8, which is positive 40, which is greater than 35. So we are correct. All right, one more example, and then you're going to try it by yourself. In this example, we have positive 7 times c is less than negative 21. When we divide by a positive, we do not have to flip the sign. So c is less than negative 3. I can graph that. I got negative 3 here. Open circle goes to the left. Now the negative 21 might have confused us, but because we divided by a positive, because the 7 was positive, we did not have to flip the sign. Now we can test this again. If c is less than negative 3, then negative 4 should work. If I plug in negative 4, that should be less than negative 21. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28, which, yep, is less than negative 21. We are correct. All right, I want you to try these two at the bottom. Pause the video, and then play it back to see if you get it right. All right, for number 6, we have negative 10y is less than 60. When we divide by negative 10, we get y is greater than negative 6, which if we graph, we got an open circle at negative 6, and it's greater than. And then for number 7, we got t divided by negative 6, so we're going to multiply by negative 6. Got negative 42. Because we divided by a negative, we have to flip the sign. So now that's less than or equal to t. If I read that backwards, I have t is greater than or equal to negative 42. If we put that on our number line, we got a closed circle at 42, and it is greater than. All right, guys, that is it for our notes today. Please make sure you see Canvas for further instructions.